Okay, we are live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 170 of the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. Unfortunately, today, I don't want to bury the lead. We really got nothing. And I guess that's because everyone is still trying to fix Meltdown and Spectre and all this other stuff. It's not really going anywhere. Or maybe everyone is just nervous about what's going. Maybe the government shut down for security and we just don't know about it. But I don't know. I asked Tom to find some stories and we still got nothing.
Yeah, it's been a pretty light couple weeks for news. Last week I was on vacation. It was great. I got to see our great TSA people in action, where they miss literally 95% of weapons stowed in bags. And that number is from an internal audit. It wasn't even like a really good external auditing company. But they for sure found my Nintendo Switch that I accidentally left in my backpack, flying back home. And I got the whole, swab it down with the thing to make sure it's not a bomb and all that. So as I told the guys, hey, look, I'm sorry. I totally forgot it was in there. I forgot to take it out. I hope I didn't inconvenience you. And he said, dude, you're honestly just giving me work to do. Thank you for leaving it in there. I would have just stood here all day. It's like, oh, that's nice. That makes me feel really secure and safe.
I mean, you got to go to Hawaii and try and sneak back a citrus. I mean, you want to talk about how they we need to put the Hawaiian agriculture department on TSA over here.
Yeah, we do.
And as we're recording, I'm starting to pack. I'm going to ShmooCon starting Friday the 19th. I was one of the lucky, 1,500 people who got tickets. So I will be in Washington, D.C., shut down or not, and we're going to see what goes on.
Yeah, that'll be good.
So ShmooCon is good because it's a much smaller version of DEF CON. I mean, it's completely different. They have different focuses where DEF CON is literally everything. Here it is more on computer security and everything else, but it is small. So we were at the hotel and everything else. You don't have to worry about everyone being weird and everything else, but it is a smaller event on the East Coast, and I'm excited. It's my first one. And hopefully I can report back next week with all the awesome stuff.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know how that is. I've never been to ShmooCon.
It's probably smaller than DerbyCon.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. DerbyCon's gotten kind of big recently. They're trying to keep it, contained. I didn't get to go last year because, new job and moving across the country and everything. But yeah, I'm hoping to get there this year. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
So look, all these computer security conferences are just popping up everywhere, like literally everywhere. And every week it seems to be a new one. And I don't want to say it's hard to sift through the nonsense, but I guess just go to as many as you can that your company will pay for. So
yeah, they're a lot of fun. You learn a lot. You meet some great people. The networking is fantastic at security conferences, especially if you're looking to break into the field, to become a pen tester, maybe, do some malware analysis, some reverse engineering, whatever you're into related to security, or even just related to standard IT stuff or programming. There are people there that you can meet up with that will, help you look for better jobs, give you awesome professional tips on new tools or new techniques that they've discovered. Going to security conferences has been one of the most beneficial things to my career that I've ever done.
I like it because when people hear that I'm a public school teacher, they start having immediately higher respect for me. But it's good. They also say, oh, wow, you're a school teacher and you're actually teaching this to your students. And I claim, I try to teach this to everybody. Nobody listens, and we all get a big laugh, and nobody really cares.
Yeah. So speaking of nobody caring, we got some numbers about two-factor authentication.
They're not good.
No, they're not good. So it turns out that two-factor authentication, when it is offered, is only used by 15% of users on average. And that means less than 1 in 5 people will actually take the time to seriously beef up their security by doing the smallest amount of work that is enabling two-factor authentication.
Look, we've said this before. Two-factor authentication is a royal pain in the butt. I mean, my morning routine when I start up my Chromebook and have to go to my Gmail and everything else is a pain. But you know what? I feel better about it because I have my phone out there and I start typing everything in and have to put the code in. But I can see why. I can see why people say no to it. But I think we're at the point now where it's not who's coming after me. I think they're just going after literally everybody.
Yeah, if they get a password or a matched password, or you got phished by something, they're going to target literally everything they can. They don't necessarily have to come after you. A common argument that I hear, and I actually heard it from my family, is, why do I have to change all these things? Why do I have to why do I have to enable all this stuff to make my account secure? Who's going to hack me? So grandmother, they're not going to hack you. They don't care about your recipe cards. They don't care about your pictures from Florida. They really don't. They literally just hack anything they can get their hands on, and that includes your account. So she's got two-factor authentication on her Google account now, and slowly getting her moved over to everything else as well.
I mean, I would even say, and we've beat this so many times. It takes the one time to get hacked, but then again, we say that and it happens. I mean, I think people complain more about getting their credit card stolen or lost because of the inconvenience. And I go, that's nothing. That's literally nothing. They send you a new credit card. Nothing changes other than the fact that you have to cut up the old one and call the phone number to activate it. And that could be for a million different reasons. But when someone loses your email or you lost access to your Amazon account or whatever it is, that is a much bigger pain in the neck. And it's interesting how you don't care about that, or you expect Amazon to treat you the same way the credit card companies treat you. But again, we keep on saying, I don't know why nobody cares. Even the text message, and we've said this, SMS codes are not good, but people are still doing it, and that for whatever reason people are okay with.
Yeah, I would say, while SMS is one of the least secure two-factor authentication options, it is still so much, leagues, worlds better than not having two-factor authentication on at all. If your options are SMS or nothing, go with SMS. I have plenty of accounts with two-factor authentication enabled where they don't even give me an option. They just say, what's your phone number? We're going to send you a text message. I do it. I totally do it. Yeah. If somebody wants to do, a crazy hack of the cell network, that's not really too hard to pull off, to grab my text messages out of thin air or clone my SIM card to grab my two-factor authentication code, they absolutely could. But my risk profile includes random people trying to hijack accounts, not necessarily super spies trying to access my stuff. So, if you've got the option, even if it's a poor option, enable it. It can't make you less secure. Well, I should say properly implemented. It can't make you less secure than not having it turned on at all.
So Google noticed this, and this is the article I linked in the show notes, and they did a talk at the Enigma conference this week, basically saying, so we noticed that less than 15% are putting two-factor on. So what are we doing? So we're doing heuristics, or I guess the hot buzzword is machine learning, to figure out who you are. And we've seen this. We've seen those. They got rid of CAPTCHAs because nobody can do it. Now they make you click the I'm not a robot button. And it's like the dumbest button. You check it, and a second later, it just takes you to the site. Or sometimes it asks you, name all the, tick all the bushes in these pictures, or the signs, or something with pictures. But for the most part, if it can tell who you are, it just says, okay, yeah. So they're doing sort of the same thing with Gmail. They're going to, if they don't do something, then they may pop up something like says, here, we want to send you a text message or whatever it is. Hopefully it's frictionless. It's as frictionless as possible because you're logging from the same computer, the same this, the same that.
Yeah, Google is doing a lot of cool things, looking at heuristics and pattern behavior, looking at machines, cookies, where you've been, the history of the machines. Have they seen this before? Is this a totally new machine? Is it a scripted instance that, from what they can tell, and using that to determine whether or not they're going to force you to jump through a bunch of "I'm not a robot" hoops.
Which people are okay with for some reason. Like those are okay as long as it's not all the time.
Yeah, I've had sites that were broken that would just hit me so many times with, hey, click all the cars or click all the road signs, like over and over and over again. And I don't know if I'm like secretly a robot. I don't know if I'm like a Blade Runner style replicant or a Cylon that hasn't discovered that I'm actually a secret robot bent on destroying humanity yet. But I kept failing those, and it got really annoying really quickly.
Well, the problem is that CAPTCHAs inherently, not what you're describing, but just CAPTCHAs in general, are horrible for accessibility points of view. So they have it if you can't see it. But what happens if you're only a little blind? And I have decent vision and I still can't make out the CAPTCHAs. And then there's we can hear it, but if you've ever done those, I can't see. The hearing one is just as bad.
Oh, the hearing one is awful. It's so much worse than the sight one. If you have the option for a standard CAPTCHA to click on the "Let me listen to it" button, click on that just to give it a try. It is awful. It is so much harder. I actually implemented one of these systems, and it was a major pain. It was absolutely terrible.
And as machine learning and as the computers get better and the optical image, CAPTCHAs are just going to be just as dead. So it's good that Google is starting to find the next thing and everything else. But you know what? Maybe some sort of authentication where is this really you, where they do SMS you, may not be the worst thing in the world as long as they offer you other options.
Yeah. I do like SMS as a fallback, because for somebody who doesn't want to install an app or scan a QR code or whatever, let's say they're just completely opposed to doing TOTP style two-factor authentication, but they're okay with text message. I'm okay with that being an option. It is a little bit more expensive to implement, and I want to emphasize a little bit. But if the text message option pushes your users to enable two-factor versus somebody who says, "Oh, I have to install an app, I'm just not going to do it," you really want to cast that net as wide as possible. You want to get as many people as secure as possible as you possibly can.
I mean, I think the next step is both iOS and Android put in some sort of TOTP style app as part of their protocol. So Android's easy. Let's push Google, call it something else, call it Authenticator, and push it to AOSP. And iPhone should do something else. I don't know. I mean, they basically have it now with Unlock.
They could build it into, OS 10 is pretty famous for having the keychain. They could, port that over to iOS, make an iOS style keychain and embed two-factor authentication stuff in that, which would be nice. The only downside to that, and I hear this a lot about password managers, is it does become one-stop shopping. So some people will save their TOTP, backup secrets or their codes into their password manager. But then you're faced with the challenge of, well, if somebody gets your password manager or extracts everything, they not only have your passwords, they have your codes as well. So it's all about that convenience versus security balance and what your risk profile might be.
You brought up a good point. What I do, and I don't know if this is a known fact, when you do your two-factor codes, you want to store those somewhere. So with Google, if you lose it, let's say you get a new phone and you want to set it up, before where you couldn't rearrange, I like to rearrange my two-factor codes so they're the same across all my devices, which I know is somewhat insecure to begin with. But if you have to disable it, they give you a new two-factor code, which is sometimes really annoying because it means you got to get your other devices and reset them. So what I used to do is I used to take a picture of them and then store them someplace. That storing someplace is a hot topic. Do you store it physically? Do you store it digitally? What do you do? And I think the consensus answer is you literally print them out and put in a safe deposit box.
Yeah, you could do that. It is a massive pain, especially if you are a person who, every 6 months, every year, you've got to have the latest and greatest phone. You're not going to use like a rooted backup utility to pull this database out, but you need your two-factor codes everywhere. Every 6 months, you don't want to go to the safety deposit box, pull it out, scan everything in. Like that's super annoying. So yeah, there's definitely a security versus convenience trade-off, question. I've answered it for myself. I know you've answered it for yourself, and this is something that's going to be individualized for every person. The important thing is, backups are good. And in some of the really secure systems, if you lose your two-factor authentication code, there aren't very many ways to get back in.
I think Google has a method. I think
They
Google
do.
has a way that will get you
some
back
hoops.
in. And it is through a lot of hoops. But anyway, I think let's move on. Okay, so they're finding other ways around it, which I guess is a good thing. On the FCC front, some good news, question mark. They're saying that, so right after net neutrality repeal went through, Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, and then we're saying, how can we make this even worse? And their question was, well, mobile broadband is good enough for most people. Most people use this. Did we just meet the standard of high-speed broadband in rural areas? And the answer is no. The FCC is saying, no, you cannot use mobile speed as a replacement for a home wired broadband, which is excellent news. I mean, at least we have that, because Verizon did that in New Jersey, and the rural areas in New Jersey all of New Jersey was supposed to get Fios. They got huge tax breaks, and then they didn't want to build out in these rural towns, and they convinced the New Jersey state legislator that their 4G LTE was good enough, and they sided with them, gave them the tax breaks, and didn't build out Fios. So
yeah, this is a good thing. I'm waiting to see what else cable companies try to pull to try to get out of their commitments, or to try to evade these rulings on what broadband speeds need to be. But we'll have to see. In any case, the FCC did a good thing here, and they made the right call. Can't believe I just said that. Well, I still have a deep hatred, not even disdain. It goes deeper than that. A deep hatred of the FCC and Ajit Pai because of what they've done to net neutrality and the internet. But we beat that dead horse far, far into the ground a few episodes prior.
Look, basically Ajit Pai says he has no data to say that. Basically there's no evidence to say the mobile broadband will do this and that. So there was no evidence, which begs the question, where was the evidence that net neutrality was a bad idea type thing?
Yep.
Anyway, so this is I posted this, the show notes. It's a very long Ars Technica article, which I guess is standard and par for the course. The next thing, and we didn't talk about it. Nobody really talked about it. The president did tweet about it, however. Congress re-upped 702 authorization, which is just fancy name is that they can collect your data, and nobody really cared, but it was a problem.
More spying stuff got re-upped, so par for the course.
Basically, you're not allowed to spy on Americans. I mean, that's in the Constitution. It's very much held up. You cannot spy on Americans without a search warrant. 702 says, in the accidental collection on spying on a foreign operative, if American data does get in there, it's okay. You don't need a warrant for that, because the American is not the person you're going after. And unfortunately, it's just, let's cast the biggest net, get as many Americans as we can, and then say, oh, it's okay. Not that going through the FISA court was any better, but at least there was a court and somebody could say no. Now they just do it.
Yeah, it's standard procedure thus far.
And this is where the president claims that he was spied on, which probably meant that they were not spying on the president, but the foreign operatives talking to the president, and because he's an American citizen. But anyway, whether he was spied on or not spied on is depending on which channel news you watch. So, and then lastly, I don't have any more on that. Can you explain this Chromecast bug? Because I know it came out. I don't know if many people were talking about it.
Yeah, I read a little bit about it. I'm not going to be the foremost expert, and what I say could possibly, potentially, probably be wrong. But I guess Chromecasts were like blasting down home Wi-Fi. They're being super noisy, taking up a lot of bandwidth, just being a general nuisance on a network. And Google is patching that so they behave better. Um, I think because I literally I read like 3 sentences on this and that's it. So do not look to me as an authority. But the devices, they get better when you patch them. That's a good thing.
I mean, basically what they're saying, in order to make the product well, they were, when it woke up from sleep, it's like, oh, I just woke up. What did I miss? And start sending a whole bunch of, I guess, UDP traffic on your home network. And if you have a few Chromecasts put in and all this happens, it could flood the network. I've never seen this problem, but then again, like, I think the Chromecast is an awesome device. It's just not for me. I'm not a not a happy Chromecast. I don't think that's the best thing. I think just using the phone as a remote is not for me.
I actually agree with that. I like my Roku way better. I never use the remote on my phone unless I've lost the physical remote, which I have done several times. It's great as a backup option, but I just use the Roku everywhere. The only time I cast something is if I want Google Music on my TV, but I usually just use like a Bluetooth speaker or something else from my phone if I want to have music around the house. So
I think the best use case is you're with your friends and it's like a YouTube watching party, which I have done before.
Yeah.
And so you just, okay, this is next and that's next, or you want to show somebody a video from your phone. But again, I'm not Chromecast exclusive. I will tell you, my son is completely different. He will probably never leave YouTube. But again, all those teenagers nowadays, it's YouTube or illegal streaming or bust.
I do have a small amount of news, just a notice more than anything. There's no information yet, but someone has registered the domain skyfallattack.com, propped up a little site, and I quote, Skyfall and Solus, more vulnerabilities in modern computers. Following the release of the Meltdown and Spectre vulnerabilities, they name the CVEs, there has been considerable speculation as to whether all the issues described can be fully mitigated. Skyfall and Solus are two speculative attacks based on the work highlighted by Meltdown and Spectre. Full details are still under embargo and will be published soon when chip manufacturers and operating system vendors have prepared patches. Watch this space. So it looks like potentially more bad news to come as far as processor design, patches, and security vulnerabilities that have plagued us since 1995. Again, we don't know anything. We have no idea what the scope is. We have no idea if they're affected. It could be that they just thought, oh, this sounds like a cool attack name. Let's publish this, and it affects like 3 processors made in 1997 or something. That would be great. That'd be fantastic. But we will let you know here as soon as we get more details.
And the security researchers joke about this, but I think before you release a vulnerability, you got to come up with an awesome logo and website and everything else.
They've got a logo. It's like, it looks similar to an old Intel logo, except it's a Skyfall in the middle of it. Like, I'm all about this. It is, we need graphics designers and marketing people to get in on InfoSec, and this is the way to do it. Let's do it. Let's sell some vulnerabilities.
I think at this point I told you this, we should make a top level domain for like .attack or .infosec or something like that, just so you can go search those things up and find your attack vulnerabilities.
Oh. Yeah, I love the researchers who name their attacks and actually have a logo for like the stupidest thing that affects one tiny little program that nobody ever uses, but they're like, well, you gotta have a logo. Isn't this hilarious? So, I named this like Grape Jello, the attack. It's amazing.
That's what we should do. I mean, we should name these attacks something really silly.
Purple Tang.
Whatever it is. Just something so you feel a little less bad when it hits you. Like not like row hammer. It should be like bop it or something like that.
Yeah. Meltdown, Roarhammer. No. I want bubble bath.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's susceptible to bubble bath, so we gotta patch it.
So okay, at this point, look, we're a little early, but again, it's been really, really slow. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe the Northeast with its what is it, cyclone bomb or whatever, bomb genesis is still going on.
Then we had Hawaii with fake bomb.
Oh, I guess we really should talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big thing. It didn't, I guess it affected you, I guess, slightly more, like 0.001% more than me.
Yeah, it was closer technically.
But I mean, that's a really big problem. I mean, I didn't think of the social aspect. Like, you have 20 minutes. Who are you going to go to?
Yeah,
you're going to go to your wife. You're going to go to your kids. And people say, yeah, whatever. But I guess, like, if this is not a drill, and for 20 minutes you think you're actually going to die. I mean,
so to give a little background, what was this? 2 weeks ago? Last week? I think it was last week. People in Hawaii got an emergency alert on their phones that says, missile incoming, take shelter, this is not a drill. And everyone's phones went up simultaneously with this message. Everyone starts, freaking out, calling their loved ones. I saw videos of parents putting their kids into storm drains to try to protect them. Like, it's a seriously messed up scenario. And for 20 minutes, no one knew, whether or not they were going to die. It was, as far as they knew, their last 20 minutes alive on Earth before the bomb hit, before Hawaii was wiped off the map. So you had everything from confessions of love. You had people saying, okay, well, here's what I do. I'm going to call these people in this order, and you instantly know who you care about. There were people who were paralyzed with fear. There were people who just slept through it because, they were asleep and they woke up and they're like, oh, wow, everybody panicked for a little bit. That's cool. I missed that. There were people who just played games. There's a lot of interesting data, but it wasn't a hack. It wasn't a vulnerability that caused this. It was literally somebody clicking on the wrong menu item. There was, missile alert and missile alert test or something, and they clicked the wrong thing and sent the wrong notification and seriously caused some problems. The entire state of Hawaii stopped for about 30 minutes.
Well, the question was, I mean, and the news channels went on and on and on about this, is how does somebody just hit the wrong button? And it goes back to, it's a UI decision. It's, the button is here, and we've all accidentally clicked on the wrong button, and it should have been harder.
I did it today. I meant to click on one thing. I meant to hit Command W to close a tab in Firefox, and I hit Command Q, and I closed my entire Firefox session, which really angers me. That's a really stupid place to put it, but it's an easy mistake to make. It's a really easy mistake to make.
And it's one of those, where you don't want 8 different layers of authorization, because if there actually is an alert, you need this to go out fast. You can't wait for emergency management to do this, and you can't have the 2 keys that one's unlocking it. Somebody has to be able to do it really quick, and you have to trust that person, and they clicked the wrong button, and maybe the button should be in a different spot or something else. But
yeah, like maybe have the test be like a 1 click and it sends a test, and when it's the real thing, it just pops up you're about to tell everyone the world's ending. Are you sure? And then you click OK, and it sends out the real alert. Like, just one extra little step. I totally agree with you. The 2 keys thing, or going through a bunch of things, or opening up safes that when people need to actually be alerted as fast as possible, probably isn't the right answer. But at the very least, and are you sure you want to inform people that the world is coming to a literal end? Dialogue box would be helpful here.
Yeah. So again, with that said, Hawaii did not have a fun weekend. I think it was on Saturday. But anyway, again, unfortunately, it doesn't affect us because we were so far away and we only heard about it after the fact.
Yeah.
So
I read about it like, I don't know, 6 hours, 8 hours after it happened, when going through just a thread of social news on my RSS reader. I was just like, oh wow, that's a thing that happened.
and again, it's unfortunate, but anyway, wow, that short show went to a long show. Anyway, we're gonna go. We'll see you hopefully next week with positive security news. Let's hope for that
Yes.
positive security news, because negative security news is always a bummer. All right, with that said, we'll see you next week. Have a good night. Bye,
See
everyone.
everyone.